It was my third month of an amazing solo trip with a mission of maximum scientific interest. On board a transporter with great autonomy, designed with the most advanced technology. I was in the vital compartment that created a warm and protective environment. The silence of the area would allow me to hear even my own heartbeat. The temperature was constant, and I was in a kind of deep sleep, a type of hibernation, from which sometimes I seemed to wake up being aware of my state. Inside the protective enclosure, where the vital systems covered all the biological needs, sometimes had a glimpse of a warm, enveloping penumbra, like a pleasant, weightless flight on a night sky. I still had half a year left to reach my destination, and the scales of time and space were being fulfilled so far, as they had been planned. The proposal of this trip was a privilege for me, and I had great expectations through a contribution of scientific nature for all beings in the new world. It was really special and humanitarian mission. A few days before the unexpected encounter with the intruder, I had nightmares that somewhat disturbed the normality of my trip. That day, that hour, something sinister broke into the compartment, threatening the mission. Alarms went off throughout my body. Immediately, I dispatched a mayday call to control. Survival systems still control my pulse and brain waves. I noticed that something heavy was pushing my belly. Under a strange force, my position changed. I was displaced to one side. I felt nausea and dizziness. I couldn't determine the cause, but suddenly a hostile light entered my area, and something metallic in appearance projected some tentacles, breaking the vital ring, tearing the protective veil. Then I felt those tentacles grip my legs without giving me a chance to react, and with unbearable pain I was dragged towards that light that had now turned reddish. The intentions of the intruder with this unexpected attack were clearly to tear me apart, and I was filled with terror. My life, the mission was in danger. The pain was unbearable. The intruder was pulling from my legs, cutting and dislocating them mercilessly. I launched from my enclosure my call for help again. Control! Mayday! Control! I'm under attack! After a while, which seemed an eternity, I found myself extracted from my compartment and rescued from the metal hook by a big, luminous being who looked at me with a worried face. He held me fast with his hands, and at that moment, the terrible pain that gripped me subsided. It was Raphael. I recognized him when his face became clearer. Control had responded to my distress call. From the rescue point, suspended in the air, I looked down and saw a surgery room and a beautiful young woman who was being intervened, lying on an operation table. She was very pale, with a large blood stain on her thighs. The doctors were frantic around her, as the monitors showed vital critical lines. Something went wrong. With a deep sadness, I knew that that beautiful young woman was my mother. With horror, I saw on a tray, among surgical instruments, a small naked body with huge cuts and wounds. That little being was still alive. His little arms were moving. In the midst of absolute indifference, no one cared. Immediately, flashing images followed one another inside my mind. Pictures of a future reality that had been broken. I saw myself as a baby in his arms, crawling on the carpet, and my first footsteps, clumsily clinging to the furniture. Later on, I saw myself in the school, and in the university. And there I met my first girlfriend, who was studying medicine with me. We were passionate about science and biotechnology. Sometime later, through these pictures, I married this girl and we had 2 beautiful children. Time passed, and one day my work in the laboratory was rewarded with a discovery that surpassed all my expectations. This discovery was the core and purpose of my mission. Those fleeting but intense images kept being processed like a movie. And then, with my escort and friend Raphael, began the return to the heavenly house. The clinic room and that beautiful woman faded away in a mist. Raphael took my hand and we left at high speed. We were traveling very fast, like inside a tunnel of light. In seconds, we made out a glorious landscape, my true home, the house of heaven. An imposing celestial figure was awaiting us at the door of that delicious garden. He is the Divine Master. He looked at me tenderly. How much love he showed me despite my failed mission. I got lost in his loving arms. Some tears that he tried to hide fell over his cheeks. He didn't say anything to me, but I perceived his thoughts. Another child of mine rejected. Another child destroyed. I felt his heart beating strongly with deep emotion. How can God be so sensitive? If people would perceive just for an instant the pain we cause him, only a heart as big as his can bear all the intense grief caused by the human race. A work made from heaven with love. Everything was like a dream, I told Jesus, and I was able to see what was supposed to be my future life and to fulfill my assignment. Jesus told me, life on earth has a great purpose. That's where souls grow and evolve. Humans don't quite understand its full value. Sometimes I send special children to boost their spiritual growth, and I also respond when they cry out in prayer. In this case, they sadly reject you and discard my plan again. With you, I responded to a request in the field of medicine to mitigate their suffering. Because of your mission, you were bringing the remedy, the cure against a disease that kills millions of people every year. Not only this world sickness is still uncontrolled, but also the growing hardening of souls and callousness towards life, with the complete silence of many. After a long pause, Jesus took me by the hand and sat with me on a golden bench in that splendid garden. The stream of a crystal river was sending colorful rays on the meadow and to the trees along the bank. The flowers seemed alive, and their fragrances began to heal my deep wounds of the recent trauma on my journey from heaven to earth with love.